What's up YouTube, DeMi here. This is going to be a build guide for Occultist Whispering Ice, CI version. This character was designed to be incredibly tanky and run Uber Labs, while also being able to clear pretty much any map including Elemental Reflect. But yeah, it's pretty fun. I leveled it up to 87 or so in Prophecy League. We're about a day away from the end of the league, 2 days away from the end of the league, so I figured I'd make a character guide for this one since I really like the character. I enjoyed the playstyle quite a bit, and I just want you guys to see what I'm got going on. So actually, we'll start with the ascendancies and the skill tree. I went Occultist because I wanted to gain access to Wicked Ward. What this does is it gives you a large amount of flat ES, but it also means that every time your energy recharge starts, it doesn't stop until you stop taking damage, right? So like, if it starts, it'll keep regenning you all the way up to full, and if you take hits while it's regenning, it doesn't stop like normal, it just keeps regenning. And if you get to the very top and you keep taking hits, it'll just keep regenning you back to full. So this is really good for running Uber Lab, as the traps don't hit you constantly, they hit you once and then you have like a second of delay or so, then you start regenning back to full, which is amazing. And then you can run into the next trap and it doesn't kill you or anything. But other nice things we get from Ascendancies, we get more ES and Energy Shield recharge rate. Recharge rate is the rate at which this, like, when you stop taking damage and it starts regenning back up, that's recharge rate. And then we get another 8% ES and more ES recharge. This Vile Bastion is actually really nice for, like, just in general. The stun immunity I don't really care about because I took Unwavering Stance to not be stunned later on. But it gives you energy recharge regenerated per second for each enemy you killed recently, and like as you're clearing maps, killing like packs of 20 or 30, this just means you're regenerating a bunch of ES as well. Let me go over here to Profane Bloom. This is just kind of, since we're cursing all the time, I have double blasphemies and another curse for malediction. We basically just get a 20% chance for the enemies to explode and deal a quarter of their max life as chaos. This basically means that you scale up in damage with maps. Like the more HP the mobs have, the more damage that this does. And they take more damage, increased damage if they're cursed, which they always are as long as we're near range, right? This is scaled by like damage on jewels or the area damage on your tree, as well as like chaos damage and stuff. Then we get another 8% max energy shield. 8% max energy shield. Both of these give curse duration, which is pretty nice for our temp chains. And then we get malediction. Malediction gives us an additional curse, which is worth a lot of skill points, at least 6 for most builds. And then every time you kill an enemy, for each curse on that enemy, you gain 4% of your non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage for 4 seconds. So this just kind of builds up more damage that's gonna pierce through resistances and stuff, which is pretty nice. So for the skill tree, because we started as Witch, we go out through the ES nodes, just pick up a bunch of ES, pick up some ES and intelligence. This build is pretty much all about getting intelligence because of the way Whispering Ice works. You get spell damage per 10 intelligence, right? So each one of these 10 intelligence nodes, or in this case 20 intelligence nodes, is worth % damage for your Ice Storm skill. You also get a little bit of flat damage added onto the base for every point of intelligence that you get, so it's nice. We pick up some more ES, and ES recharge rate, area damage, area radius of radius of area skills, and more area damage. Go up here, pick up a jewel socket. Come over here, pick up more intelligence and mana regen. Pick up Ellie Overload because we are not going crit with this build. It's really hard to do crit with Whispering Ice, so we just pick up this for basically 40% more elemental damage, which is pretty nice. Went up here to grab another curse, so we have a curse from malediction, and then we also have a curse from this, so that puts us at 3 curses, which is really nice. Come down here, pick up another intelligence node, spell damage node, whatever you want to call it, a jewel socket. Go into the middle of the silent energy ES wheel, pick up some more intelligence and spell damage and a bunch of ES. Grab Harrier for more more cast speed and move speed. Come up here and get CI. And this is the Ghost Reaver. So what Ghost Reaver does is it allows us to leech to our energy shield instead of life, which is kind of important because we went CI. We only have 1 life and we need to leech to our ES, otherwise we'll just die, right? We pick up these nodes for even more ES. And then I actually grabbed Essence Surge. This is actually the only spot on the tree where you can get faster start of energy shield recharge. And remember what I talked about with Wicked Ward. This means that you start recharging faster, which means that you get this immunity. You just get like huge regen all the time, basically, with this. And then I went down into Shadow Assassin area, Ranger Assassin area, grabbed Vol Pact, and some reduced mana reservation because I'm using 2 curses and an aura, so I needed it. Grab another Jewel Socket and some spell damage. Then we come over here into Templar, grab more spell damage and cast speed and intelligence, more AoE and area damage, more spell damage, intelligence, elemental damage, a Jewel Socket. These are actually really important. I'll go over jewels in a second once we're done with the tree though. Come down here, grab another intelligence node, and then go all the way down in between Marauder and Duelist for Unwavering Stance, so he cannot be stunned. Which is really, really important for a CI build, and this allows us to not wear Eye of Chayula. Instead, we wear Astramentus for a huge amount of intelligence. But, okay, so that's the skill tree. Let's go over jewels. These are really important. These give you up to 24 intelligence, and then it converts all of these little strength nodes. Since we're doing a lot of traveling down here, all of this strength would be wasted otherwise. So it converts all of it into intelligence for us. If I take this out, I lose about 500 ES. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 60 intelligence plus 24. That's 84 intelligence for 1 Jewel Socket. It's pretty nice. This one is doing the same thing. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that gives us 50 plus 53, plus 23. So that's 73 intelligence from 1 Jewel, which is huge amounts of ES and damage for us. Every 5 intelligence is 1% ES, and every 2 intelligence is 1 mana. So all of our intelligence, over 1,000 without anything else on, gives us a massive amount of percent ES, which is why I don't actually grab that much percent ES on the tree. These are mostly just to get the intelligence nodes, not so much for the energy shield. Other jewels that I'm using, because I'm using Wicked Ward and trying to abuse that, you can get faster start of energy shield recharge on jewels. So I have one of those with some added damage, area damage, cast speed, spell damage, cold damage, spell damage while wielding a staff, global damage. All of those things scale your damage. So, but the most important stat for me personally was the faster start of energy shield recharge. So I made sure I got that on all of my nodes, jewels. So that one's got it as well. I think the range is 4 to 6%. So 6 is the best, obviously, but these are the best I could find in the time that I played the character. Got another spell damage, faster energy recharge, freeze duration, and area damage. Oh, and here's another one of the conversion jewels. This is actually converting dexterity into intelligence. These are converting strength. This one converts dexterity. So it gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 50 plus 23 intelligence, 73 intelligence for 1 Jewel Socket, which is pretty nice. I didn't really talk about Vol Pact either. Vol Pact means that your leech applies instantly, and life regeneration has no effect. This doesn't really negatively interact with this because this is energy shield recharge or regeneration. It's not life regen, so it's not affected by that. And your energy shield recharge is not affected by this either, so this is just a win-win for us. And since I was coming over here to grab the charisma node anyway, we'll just pick this up as well, so we get instant leech. So that's the tree. Let's go over the links. So your main skill is Ice Storm. The staff itself gives you Ice Storm. You don't have to link anything to it. It just gives you the Ice Storm. You also don't actually need to link your Whispering Ice. I just did this at the end of the league because I was bored. So as long as you get a 6-socket Whispering Ice, the most important stat is the increased intelligence. It goes 14 to 18% and then 8 to 12% cast speed, so this is actually a perfect one. But yeah, the most important thing is just to get a 6-socket and get as much intelligence on it as you can. So the links for your main skill are, in order of importance, I believe, Spell Echo is the most important, and then Conk Effect, Controlled Destruction, Elemental Focus. This lets you cast twice, which is really nice. And then Conk Effect makes the AoE smaller, but it gives you 60% more damage, which is a huge multiplier. Elemental Focus gives you 50% more damage, and you can't inflict status ailments. The status ailment for this would be Chill and Freeze, but because it drops Chilled Ground, the Ice Storm itself drops Chilled Ground, they're still going to be chilled. So that is just basically a free war multiplier, and they still are chilled by the Ice Storm itself, so it doesn't matter. Control Destruction gives us 44% more spell damage. I think it goes up to 45% at level 20. And reduce critical strike chance, which doesn't actually matter that much because we don't really care about critting that much other than every 8 seconds. But we have other things to proc the crit. Last 2 links are Cold Penetration. This is effectively another more multiplier. It gets more, you get more damage based on how much resist they have. The more resistance they have, the more it cuts through it, which means you deal more damage to them. The last link is kind of a toss-up. You can either go Mana Leech or Life Leech. I chose Life Leech for more survivability. You can also go faster casting in this, but I didn't feel it was necessary. So that's your main links. Remember, this does not have to be linked, just socketed. Because it's in the staff itself, the Ice Storm skill, you don't need the links. Your travel skill is Lightning Warp, because you have so much cast speed. It's a nice travel skill. You can spam it. It's not like Flame Dash where you have charges. Doesn't matter as much. So the links for that are Lightning Warp, faster casting. Faster casting makes the initial cast faster. Then you link less duration, and it makes the time that you would be floating faster. And the last link is Rapid Decay. This gives another 15% reduced skill effect duration, which makes the travel time even faster. So you just kind of link around now. Curses, I'm using Blasphemy Enfeeble and Blasphemy Warlord's Mark, along with Discipline for my reservation stuff.
When I'm ready and not before.
So, and then I have an Enlighten thrown in there as well, so I can actually cast more than once. I can cast 2 times-ish. And that's all in a Heretic's Veil. Heretic's Veil gives you reduced mana reservation, and it supports your Cursed Gems by level 22 Blasphemy, so I don't have to actually link Blasphemy to this. If you don't have a Heretic's Veil, you can just put a Blasphemy in this slot and move the Discipline somewhere else. And keep using Lighten if you want, you don't have to. But this gave me a free gem slot basically, so I opted for it. Other setups, I'm using Castman Damage Taken, Immortal Call, and Frostbomb. This gives you immunity to physical damage if it gets procced, so if I take 3,272 damage, I get immunity to physical damage, and then it drops a Frostbomb on them. Frostbomb drops their cold res by 20%, but basically gives you another 20% cold penetration, which is pretty nice. It also reduces life regen, which doesn't matter most of the time, but it helps a little bit against certain bosses that are leeching or whatever. And then I also have an Enduring Cry in here to generate the Immortal Call endurance charges that are needed. So, last links, I have a 6-link chest, so I just started messing around with setups. I have a Castman Damage Taken Molten Shell. This gives me armor, and it gives me a big damage dealing boom when it pops, about 12k-ish, which is pretty nice. And since they're always in range of my Warlord's Mark, that means I leech 2% of that 12k, which is pretty cool. I also have a Vortex in here, deals a large amount of cold damage. Where'd it go? Vortex, cold damage. Initial cold damage, and then 3k per second, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it procs fairly often. Then for other fun stuff, this is our 3rd curse. We have Warlord's Enfeeble, and we also have Temp Chains. If you don't want to use Temp Chains, you can use Frostbite, you can use Elemental Weakness, you can use pretty much any curse you want, really. I just like these 3. It slows them down, it multiplies with my Chilled Ground, so they're really, really slow, and then they're enfeebled, and I can leech off of them. Other stuff in these links, we have Ice Nova, just because it deals more cold damage, and I like the thought of exploding with cold damage every time I get hit. And then Glacial Cascade, which is another area damage cold spell, so it deals a fair amount of damage as well. So there's all the links. Other gear, besides the Whispering Ice, I have the Heretic's Veil, obviously. Astromentus, I think, is best in slot for your amulet. It's over 100 intelligence, which is massive. I take this off, everything falls off. This also means you don't have to worry about stat requirements for pretty much anything.
I need more mana.
You can use all your high-level gems because you have enough strength and dexterity to actually equip them, which is pretty nice. Let me go refill my mana so I can actually put my auras back on. So that's your necklace slot. Gloves, you just want really high ES with intelligence. Intelligence is a really important stat. So get intelligence, get resist, get high ES. Boots, basically the same thing. High ES and resist and intelligence. I opted for Rainbow Strides because I'm using roomies. The staff has 12% to block, and the boots give us 25% of that block chance applied to spells. So when I use the roomies, where's my block? 12 and 3%. If I use the roomies, I go to 38% block, 25% spell block, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that means I'm mitigating 25% of the spell damage and almost 40% of the physical attack damage incoming, which is nice. If you don't want to use Rainbow Strides, you can just use any other random pair of ES boots with move speed and resist and intelligence, like where's my old boots? I think these are my old boots. Yeah, move speed, resist, intelligence. Pretty basic stuff. Or these, same thing. Resist, move speed. Alright, that doesn't even have move speed. Just has resist and intelligence. Belt slot, you just want a high ES belt with resist. I opted for a little bit of armor and reduced flash charges used, so I can use my flash more than once sometimes, but basically just high ES and resist. You can get move speed on these as well, which is a little quality of life bonus. Rings, you want intelligence, you want ES, and you want resist. And more ES. You don't need to craft this, it costs an exalt to craft that, but just get high ES, high intelligence, and good resist. Other ring, exact same thing. Resist, intelligence, and more ES. Chest piece. This is the chest piece that I crafted myself, and 6-linked myself way early on in the league, and this is actually the reason why this character exists, because I made this chest and it has intelligence and extremely high ES, so I opted to use it. Flask setups. This flask is really underrated and really nice. Immunity to chill, freeze, curses, and stuns during flask effect, but it only lasts 3.5 seconds. But this means I'm immune to curses and freeze all the time, basically, if I'm clearing fast enough, which is pretty much good for a CI character because you're very easy to freeze and chill. I'm using a remove bleed Stibnite. I get 3 uses out of it. That's the only reason I'm using a Stibnite, is because I get to use it 3 times. So 3 remove bleeds is pretty nice from us. I'm using a Taste of Hate, which mitigates the incoming physical damage, turns it into cold damage, while also giving me max cold res. So this gives me 20% of physical taken as cold, and it has to go against my cold resist, which would be 81 during the flask effect. So it just gives us a good amount of physical mitigation. You can also use a Basalt if you don't have the Taste of Hate, and instead of the Kiara's Determination, you can just use a Silver Flask with Onslaught and Freeze and Chill immunity. But I have a Taste of Hate, so I'm using it. Quicksilver, you want movement speed, and then like either increased charge recovery or reduced charges used. This is just one I have, so I'm using it as is. It's actually not quality for some reason. Let me do that real quick. Better. And then the last flask that I'm using is a Rumi's Concoction for the block chance that we talked about earlier with Rainbow Shrines. It's not needed at all. You can just use another defensive flask. Like you could use the Basalt here if you have a Taste of Hate. If you don't, you could use like a Ruby Flask or Granite. Basically any flask you want in this last slot. So that's the gear, gems, flasks, skill tree ascendancies. Let's go do a little demonstration of clear speed. I need to grab some portal scrolls before I do that. Otherwise I can't leave. So, your playstyle is pretty simple. Because your Warlord's Mark and your Enfeeble are on Blasphemy, you basically want to get in everybody's face. So you go right on top of them, they're all cursed, and I'm lagging. Wow. And they just pop. Oh, last thing I forgot to talk about was the enchantment. Sorry. Commandment of Spite when hit is... Here, I'll show you what it does. Let me take a hit. Hit me. Those. It fires a projectile, which is your weapon. Okay, let me just go over to it. Releases a Nova projectiles based on your weapon, leaving chilled ground in their wake. So this just leaves chilled ground everywhere, right? Basically. So if they're not in the actual ice storm radius, they get chilled by that effect. Which means they are slowed down and they attack us less. Which means we take less damage overall. But yeah, your clears, you just kind of warp on top of the pack, curse it, and then pop it. Do this as fast as you want. Most packs die in one cast, I guess one echo. So you don't really have to think much, just work for the next pack. And keep on running. So yeah, that's the Dry Blade demonstration. Now I have to show you why I believe Occultist is the best for lab runs. So I have to run into the lab to find a trap room. So I might fast forward here a little bit, but basically we're just gonna go look for a trap room.
The goddess is watching.
Other enchantments that we didn't talk about. Boots, you either want attack and cast speed if you've killed recently, or you want 0.5% of damage leached as life and mana if you've killed recently. That's the merciless version. I believe Uber Lab goes up to 6%. But just gives you a little bit more survivability. Keep on moving fast. I like the attack and cast speed one. I just got this one because I had it on my boots and I didn't really want to re-enchant. So, best in slot helm enchant, you probably want Enfeeble effectiveness or Temp Chains effectiveness. I don't think Warlord's Mark effectiveness would do much for you. Funny part about having a 20 quality level 20 Warlords Mark, things get stun locked a lot. Like you see that twitching, they can't actually do anything when I'm hitting them because you hit so hard. So you just kind of get to do whatever you want. Alright, so here's a trap room. Even the rares are getting stun locked. Okay, so spikes. Spikes are usually pretty scary, right? You stand on them, they hit you, your energy regen starts, or your recharge starts, sorry. And then by the time they hit you again, it doesn't matter because you're already back up to full. There's one hit, goes down, I start regenning before the next trap even hits me, and I'm still regenning for that one. It's a very easy way to do overlap. Like, you don't have to think, you can just literally walk through the traps, they can't kill you. You get to do whatever you want. I've noticed sometimes it'll just stay regenning, like there I'm bleeding, those regen start, it just keeps going. But all in all, it's a very safe build. You get to do whatever map mods you want. The only ones that I don't recommend are Cannot Leech and Blood Magic, because that way you lose 2 of your curses. But after that, you're pretty much good to go. Do whatever you want. Very fun in PvP, very fun in PvAI. I've done up to, I think, like tier 13, tier 14 maps. I didn't have any really high tier maps to show, but I guess we could do this palace real quick. If you need a map demonstration. Less recovery, monster damage, poison on hit. Sure.
Speak to me.
This is tier 14. Everything's pretty easy. So you see how fast you leech. I have 38 stacks of Vile Bastion, which means I'm regenning a ton of ES while also leeching a ton of ES. So everything is hit by Warlord's Mark, and everything is hit by Life Leech on the gem itself. Or on the main links itself.
I need more
My only real complaint is that I'm reliant on Warlord's Mark for Life Leech. Or sorry, not for Life Leech, for Mana Leech. So all of my sustain comes from Warlord's Mark. But if you don't want to be reliant on that, you can drop your Life Leech gem for a Mana Leech gem. And then you just kind of get to leech from there. So you can leech off screen basically, but I like the playstyle of just jumping into their face. Oh yeah, I can show you the casting damage takens. If I just stand here, I'll keep exploding and leeching and killing things. Because all the casting damage takens usually cast at things right next to you. You get to leech off all of that outgoing damage as well. We're just going to go ahead and run to the boss. I think you've seen enough of the map clear. Not much effort required. Just get to go fast. I want to find a reflect elemental pack so you can see what it does. But the Vol pack combination with the leech and Warlord's Bark means that you out-leech the reflected damage pretty easily. I think I have a reflect map on my channel somewhere. I'll put it in the annotation when I'm done editing the video. Alright, so here's boss. Come here, Dominist. Oh, is it twin? Yeah, twin Dominist. You don't want to take that sled. Never tap the sled. But they're enfeebled, they're chilled. They don't really do much damage to us. As long as you don't get hit by this land, you're fine. You can just stand here and face tank. Wall pack does enough for you.
Die, die.
They're triple cursed, temp chains, chilled ground, enfeebled, Warlord's Mark. They do nothing to us. So that's twin Dominus. Let me just finish them off real quick. They're just so slowed, and my defenses are so strong. There's really not much they can do to us. I'm just standing here holding the button. Okay, Coliseum, and a Soul Strike. So, hope you guys enjoyed this guide. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment asking any questions that you have below, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really fun build, very relatively easy to get. Like, you just need a Whispering Ice and then some ES gear. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and that's DeMi out.